Hello and welcome to episode 19 of Tom's Hirschsprung's podcast. This is part 2 with Liz Crawford, where we're going to talk about Reach HD Canada. She is now the president of. We'll talk about how it was formed, how and why it was formed, why they're spreading from America to Canada, and also what they do and plans for the future. So welcome back, Liz.
Well, thank you. I'm glad I'm here.
Fantastic.
Nice to see you.
Now, as we said, we will talk about Reach HD Canada, formed in February of 2019. Now, do a lot of work in the US. You obviously are based in Canada, so it would make sense. I would imagine that you would have a Canadian branch. But what made you think, apart from obviously being in Canada, made you think, right, I'm going to now help this company to branch out into Canada?
Well, I think a couple of things. One, it is our goal that our foundation has branches everywhere. I mean, that would be the ultimate goal, working together and branching out. That's going to, that's what we'd love to do. Also, and for fundraising, of course, so when you're raising funds in Canada, there's implications to moving them outside of the country, so keeping them in Canada. And we started quite a few fundraising initiatives. And that's kind of really where we thought, okay, well, and also the Canadian medical system is a little bit different than the American medical system. So sometimes there's different issues that have to be addressed. So for those three reasons, we thought we should form another branch of it that will deal with some of the things that are different and apart from the United States, as well as we can raise money. All of it goes into the same initiatives, research, and so that's not the difference. It's just really being able to fundraise effectively in our own country, as well as deal with some of the issues that might be a little bit different than the United States.
Fantastic. Now, you kicked off the Reach HD group with something called the Vanity Party, which looked a lot of fun. Raised over 30,000 US dollars. Just talk to us a bit about how that came about and what that was like.
Yes, and we had another one this last fall. So after COVID, and now we're back to planning the next one in September. So back to my sort of a little politically incorrect, possibly, I don't know, Vanity Party, but it's my industry. And so I really think that when it comes to fundraising, you have to draw from your network of people, and similar interests. And mine happens to be fashion. So we came up with this concept. Let's throw this really fabulous fashion party, and we'll get sponsors, and we'll do a fashion show, because these are all things I can do in my sleep. So I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel here. I'm going to do things that I know how to do, that I can pull in the right sponsors for, and is my network. And so we created the Vanity Party, which was fun and fabulous. It's always sold out, and it's a really great evening that brings together, sort of my industry, and raises awareness about this disease and raises fun. It's been a successful event, and we're planning the next one for September of this year. And we're really excited about some of the sponsors that have come on board. And so our fundraising initiatives, they vary. We have a walk that happens, and it's a global thing. It's through Race Roster. So we encourage, people to create their own teams through the month of June typically. And, we do have the walk. We have families that have had pickleball tournaments and raised quite a lot of money. We've had families that have done, all kinds of different things. We've done jewelry. We've collaborated with different well-known jewelry designers. That a certain percentage has gone back to the foundation. So there's a lot of different initiatives. Mine it's what I know. We keep in that,
Sounds really good.
Because it's my thing. But yeah.
Fantastic. No, I fully get that. Go with what you know, and use your contacts, because if they're there, why not use them?
Exactly. And everything I do tends to be a little tongue-in-cheek. So it's a little cheeky, like the Vanity Party, because we're in fashion. It's just funny and it's ridiculous. And you know what I mean? And shit happens. But I have to be honest, probably not for everyone if they don't. But you know what I mean? But really, it's all just done in tongue-in-cheek. But yeah.
So all for a great cause as well.
All for a great cause. Yes. It's like when they were doing the breast cancer, there was a huge event that went across Canada and I think into the US, and it was a big party, kind of similar, and it was called the Booby Ball. And, again, it was just really fun, and it was a fun night, and it raised a ton of awareness and funds, and it was a little tongue-in-cheek, same sort of idea.
It's like what we said in the first episode. If you go with a slogan, like shit happens, if you go with a slogan and people know what it is, there's no point going with something that's, people don't know what it is, or you have to re-explain it several times. But no, I think that's fantastic. And as we said, lots of people got involved. I did see a big Jaguar in the middle of the floor, which looked fantastic, I have to say. I bet that was a crowd puller.
Yes, well, it was the Jaguar dealership that sponsored the night, so it was great. Yeah, fast cars and fashion. It's very vain, isn't it?
Well, exactly. You definitely know your marketing.
Yes.
But it's so when, if we talk about Reach HD Canada as well, it set it up in 2019. Who is on the board for that?
Well, there's myself and one of our staff, that our full-time staff, and then Dr. Kaiser. So Dr. Richard Kaiser he's been incredible through this entire journey, especially for me personally. He's the one that really spearheaded all the research in terms of, big fancy medical terms. So the research was integrative knowledge translation, which in layman's terms means using social media platforms or any kind of platform and, getting information from the families and parents to survey. And one of the interesting things that he did that was such a game changer is he took the initiative after we ran surveys through the online platforms and gathered all of that information from families. And we created this sort of pie. What are the biggest post concerns that you have, or struggles or complications? And then he sent the same questions to the Canadian Association of Pediatric Surgeons. What do you think patients and families struggle with the most? They were so disconnected. Like, they were nowhere near in the same realm, really. Like, families were nutrition, like, allergies and not being able to do this, loose bowels, and what they thought. And so we noticed that there is a big disconnection here, and we have to address that. So he has been really instrumental in looking at a lot of the data and figuring out where we need to work to bring together those two communities. And as a result, here at our hospital, they've implemented a bowel management clinic, which does really thorough follow-up for years after a child's surgery now. So he's really spearheaded a lot of change. So he's on our board, obviously. And our favorite nurse practitioner ever, Cindy, who is just, her commitment to families is, it's crazy. Sometimes she's at the lake, or she doesn't even take holidays. You can text Cindy at any time and ask about, whatever, an irrigation kit. She's like, well, wait, I'll call the drugstore. I'll make sure they have this in because you need this size. And she's just amazing. And so, of course, Cindy, who would have a different perspective, being the nurse practitioner, she's often, the first call before it gets to the doctor. And so she's brings a lot of unique information to the group as well.
Fantastic. No, that's fantastic. You got everybody pulling in the right direction, but you've also got people with different backgrounds, different stories, coming at it from different angles. So it's not just the same message or the same thing you hear over and over again.
No, I think that's actually the beautiful thing about this foundation. I think when Eric and Isabel started this foundation, they had worked really close with Dr. Goldstein. And I think that, in the last 15 years, it's just, I think Eric builds companies for a living or something, or he's really business savvy. So he kind of understood, we need to have, representatives from every area, because this foundation has to operate like a business, has to raise money and allocate money, has to stay afloat. We all are volunteers, so we need to have someone who's in a paid position that can, really service families. We need to have medical experts that can share the right knowledge. We need to have everybody working together in a round table, so things don't get missed and things get addressed, and we're the most effective that we can be. And I think that we actually are. We really achieved that.
Definitely. Well, it definitely sounds like you're doing an awful lot of good work. So yes, definitely on the right path. If we talk about Reach HD Canada just by itself, are the aims and objectives, I know you talked about a little bit different in terms of medical in Canada and the USA.
Yeah.
Are the aims and objectives still the same for both?
The objectives are still the same. We just deal with different situations because we are the only foundation, I think, that really is out there with all of the different resources that we have. We deal a lot with families and patient concerns and emergency situations the odd time. So when we get an email and we can tell, this is a really distraught mom. We've had emails it's unbelievable to me. We had a child one time traveling with their family in Japan, and they, I believe, and I don't want to be quoted but I believe there was something with the colon started to come out of the rectum, and there was some sort of crazy situation, and they were in a complete panic. So they emailed us, and right away I bounced over to Dr. Goldstein with sort of the stars, you need to look at this as soon as possible. He looks at it. He gets on the phone or he emails somebody in Japan. And within 2 hours, that child is seeing somebody with a special interest in Hirschsprung in Japan, an American kid that was traveling with his family. I'm like, these are the kinds of resources that are so incredible. But we do know that with Canada and the US, the primary difference is that the United States cities, there's way more cities, there's way more population, there's way more access. In Canada, if I were to get in my car and drive, the nearest biggest city is 24 hours one way and 13 hours later. Right? So it's very different. And we have kids who, don't have that accessibility. And so we also don't have the same insurance providers or whatever. So we have families in Canada who honestly can't have to pay for and can't afford the irrigation kits or some of the supplies that are needed because they're not covered in our insurance. So that is a different issue than maybe what the United States might have. So we've started a little bit of a funding program to fund these kits because we know that there's children living with Hirschsprung in remote communities where they don't have access to just the things that they need in order to have a bowel movement. It's just so basic. And so there are some things that are a bit different, for sure.
And that's where, as you said, Reach come in and are really, really important and really, really helpful in that, as amongst lots of other things that we talked about in part one. I also want to talk about, you talked about having a network of specialists.
Yeah.
And you talked about having a network of specialists sort of all around the world. And the Japan story is incredible. You managed to get that within 2 hours in Japan, which is absolutely incredible. But are you looking to sort of branch right the way around the world?
Definitely, always, because we know there's always going to be children born in other countries, and they're going to need some sort of referral or they're going to need advice. It's inevitable. And so we really rely heavily on Dr. Langer and Dr. Goldstein to network with other doctors that they know. Well, this guy knows a lot about this, or this woman knows a lot about, the post outcomes, complications, or this one's researching this. And so they've really been the ones to lead that and bring other physicians into the fold, as well as they both educate a lot. I know Dr. Langer travels and teaches the surgeries. I know he is really keen on the fellowship programs. He's really keen on spreading that education and connecting with other physicians everywhere. So that way, when we do have a situation arise somewhere else, I can always ask Dr. Langer and Dr. Goldstein, okay, this child is living in wherever, say they're living in Portugal and we've got this email come in, and do you know anybody in that side of the world that you think would be great? And, they'll fire back with, there's this clinic, there's this doctor, there's this hospital where they did this program. And, that information is invaluable to families.
Absolutely. And you also have run plenty in the past symposiums, if I've said that correctly. You've done plenty of them in the past, sort of around North America and into Canada as well. How beneficial have they been?
I think the symposiums are great. We struggle a little bit with, because there's not a dense population any one place of Hirschsprung kids or adults or families, because the disease is somewhat rare. We don't have these humongous turnouts because, there just isn't that, right? So sometimes we think, are we better online with our coffee and conversation webinars? Do we do the in-person symposiums? But the in-person symposiums are great because a lot of families will travel into these cities. And so we've done them from Boston, Houston, California, Toronto, Winnipeg. But we've gone all over North America, and families will travel in because they want that face-to-face time with, the experts and the physicians. They also want to meet other families. They also, that's a big part of it. They want to meet other families. They want their children to have that opportunity to meet another child that is going through the same thing. And so it is a really great community building event, as well as information sharing. We're very committed to the symposiums, but we want to reach as many people as possible. So we've also implemented our coffee and conversations that happen quarterly. And those, I think, have been, because they live forever on the website too, information that you can access at any time.
Fantastic. I think you're right about people wanting to meet other people with Hirschsprungs, because I know I've said before, when growing up with Hirschsprungs, I didn't know anybody else with Hirschsprungs. The first time I knew anybody else was actually in my role in teaching, when I met somebody with Hirschsprungs, but I was 25 then. So for the first 25 years of my life, I didn't know anybody else with Hirschsprung. So I think the symposiums and creating a community where people can meet other people with Hirschsprungs, share stories, ask physicians, etc., I think is fantastic. And I know we were talking a little bit off air about potentially branching out of Canada and the US. Did you have any particular places in mind that you were thinking, we need to go there?
Well, Tom, I do. We've talked about it a lot. I feel like the UK would be a logical stop for us next, and try to do, again, when we go to do these symposiums, we're also building relationships with the medical staff and doctors and facilities. And so then that becomes an open door for information sharing again. We do have quite a large, outside of North America, our third largest following is in the UK. So we have a lot of engagement there. And so to me, that has been, we've definitely talked about that. So I think that would be on our list for sure.
I second that. I think that would be brilliant as well. And wherever it is, I'll be there. I'll definitely be there. But on this podcast alone, I think over half the listeners are UK based, and then 20% USA, 20% Canada, and then sort of less than 1% in every other country. So there is a large base here, and I think, again, with the UK being a lot smaller than the US and a lot smaller than Canada, might possibly be easier for people to travel and get to symposiums. So you might find, again, don't quote me on it, but you might find that you actually get more people, even though we are a smaller country as such.
Well, sold. Then there we go. We're covered. Love it.
Fantastic. And on that point as well, just finally, the future for Reach HD USA and the future for Reach HD Canada, what do you think? I know they're sort of two slightly different, but what do you think what do you think that looks like?
Well, it's funny because I know they are slightly different, but to me, they're one. That's how I operate. But I think our goals and objectives have always remained steadfast in that we are committed to research because we know that research will improve the quality of life for those living with Hirschsprung disease. So research is, incredibly important to us. We understand that fundraising has to come next door and just pay for that research. So fundraising is always a huge component, and we want to raise more and more funds. So we're hoping more and more families sign up for the walks. And, we have fundraisers that are quite simple to get involved in. And we hope that more families get involved in that aspect because those funds directly drive all of our fellowship programs and research programs and allow us to, do different projects and programs that benefit the community. And of course, then the information sharing. We want to branch out and be more global and make more of a network because, again, as I said, we know the direct impact that has on the quality of life for children, especially in families living with Hirschsprung, because that's usually when most of the complications happen. It's usually, 15 and under is when things are a little bit more dicey, especially, 7 and 8 and under. And so we want to be able to have this big, beautiful global network of people and resources that will be able to help these families.
Definitely. And I know I said finally, but this is the really.
Oh.
Where can people find you, find Reach HD?
Well, our website is reachhd.org, I believe. I'm pretty sure it is, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I've got it written down. It is. Yes.
Happy talk.
It is. Yeah, it is.
And the emails are in the website. So when you email the foundation, I get it. Our whole board gets it pretty much. So we all see the emails coming in. It'll go directly to one of our staff, but then it comes to me or Eric pretty quick, or Dr. Goldstein or Langer or whomever. So yeah.
Fantastic. And social media wise?
Social media wise, we are, you probably know more than I do, Tom. What are we on Facebook? Reach, right?
Yeah, you're on Facebook.
Yeah, we're Reach HD, are we not? Is that what we are?
Yes, you are. Yeah. You're also on Instagram.
We're also on Instagram under Reach HD, right?
Yeah. Reach_HD, yes.
Hey, see, you're doing better than you can tell who doesn't handle social media. That would be me.
So if you want to find more, please do. It's a fantastic website, really good Instagram, Facebook page as well. And we talked about in episode 1 as well, before we forget the Facebook page, Hirschsprung's community as well.
Yeah.
I believe. I don't think I don't think there's any more, is there? I don't think.
No, I hope not.
If there is, we don't know about it.
Yeah.
There's just for me, thank you ever so much for your time, because we've spent over an hour chatting, and I know you are incredibly busy, as we said in part 1, and thank you so much for everything you do, everything the team does, and wish you the best of luck in the future.
Thank you, Tom. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I hope to see you soon in the UK.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.